Friends, this topic is inattention, consolidation of the ego. This came to my the thought process because I was listening to Krishnaji and he says, where there is attention, there is no center. And at other place, he says that thought itself is inattention. So here at Rajghat, a retreat was going on. And in fact, I asked this question to Professor Krishna when he gave his talk. After that, there was question answer session. I asked him that Krishnaji says that when there is attention, there is no center. Does it imply that inattention consolidates the ego? So he answered it in his own way. So thought is mainly my thought. When I look at my thought, mainly it is self-centered activity. Most of the time, the thinking is about oneself, about one's problem, about one's pleasure, about one's sorrows, about one's fears. Not all the time, but most of it. There is another talk of Krishnamurti, love, a dialogue with oneself. There he begins with attachment. And then he says that the attachment, it happens because it becomes an escape from our loneliness. And then he said that the loneliness is the product of thought process, thought. Elsewhere, when he says that fear, the cause of fear is time and thought. In joy, there is no role of thought, but in pleasure, it is tremendous, a big role of thought. Krishnaji also talks about thought in its right place. So, call it self, call it ego, call it I. They are one and the same thing. And inattention, when there is inattention, the self-centered activity within, which is going to the past, going to the future, which has been also called as psychological time, that predominates. So, Is this inattention consolidating the ego? The ego is there, generating. This is just one question which came out of all those statements. And I would like that you will say things about it, whether it is conjecture or whether it has some, because to me, it taught something that, I cannot shun away inattention, but I can be aware of inattention. And in this retreat, we had at the end of it a silent session also, and in which a passage from Krishnamurti's book on education was read before the silent session began, in which Krishna ji is talking to students. He first asked them that, do you know something about meditation? They say no. And then he starts talking and he says that, well, sit straight, don't let the eyeballs move, and just watch your thoughts. Don't correct them. And he further says that when you are walking, watch your thought. When you go to bed, watch your thought. Now, this is an invitation to the exploration of inner sight. Like Harshad ji, when he read Krishnamurti, he sat down to watch the beginning of thought. This is not a ritual, this is not a method, but it is something which one can test out. Testing out is very important. And when there is watching, there is no inattention. So this invitation of choiceless awareness and watching thoughts, feelings, actions, noticing the moments of escape, noticing the moments of inattention, they have great significance. Because unawareness or inattention seems to be a very deep condition. It can be something innate also. But without taking sides with a skeptical mind, one has to explore it. Most of our likes, dislikes, they are connected with inattention. And attention cannot be forced. So it is important to go deep into it, that without practicing, without making a system, a method, is it possible to watch within? Because whether one is watching thoughts or one is watching I, it is the same thing. We call I that thought which is predominant at a given moment. At other moments, other thought may be taking this role of I. In fact, Patanjali in his Yoga Sutra shares an interesting insight. And I saw that when I look at my life, and I find it's very wise, that thing, full of wisdom, what he said, connected with daily life. First, he talks about when there is complete cessation of the activity of mind, then there is the seer, the watcher. There, because there Krishnamurti says observer is the observed. So in Krishnamurti's approach, watcher is the watched. But what Patanjali says then again, he says that if there is not this silence, if there is not this stopping of the unnecessary mental activity, self-centered activity, he said, then each thought gives rise to a new I. And when I look at my life, I can vouch for that, because we don't know which thought has taken the role of I which day. They keep changing, they are seeking the permanency. But what is one to do? Some people, the criticism is that Krishnamurti doesn't tell us to do anything. But when you read his books, where he's talking to students in his school, at the end of the lecture, in the end of the talk, he would say something about sitting silently. Also watching the outside world. So whether one is watching a tree, a river, or watching one's own feelings and thoughts, in that there is not, inattention is not present. And that inattention creates all sort of problems. So I would like to listen to you, that is it true that Krishnamurti is just, you know, talking about the things, talking about the symptoms, but is not giving any, remedy for it. I personally feel that when we read Krishnamurti, at several places we see that sometimes, say, do it, sir, do it. Don't just think about it. So with this, I will stop and would request you to say something about it, or if there is any fault in it, do criticize it. Because in this group, when I come as a learner, as a participant. Thank you.
Thank you, Shakti. Harshad sir, please unmute.
Thank you, Shakti ji. This topic, two words in this title are very important. One is the inattention and the other is the ego. And they both are very much related. Let us look at inattention to the world which is outside. Like, suppose you are driving a car and for 1 or 2 seconds you get distracted by something which you see, and it can cause accident. Sometimes people even sleep for 2 or 3 seconds, accident happen. So when we are inattentive even to the world which is outside, it causes many problems. Like students, when they are in the classroom, they are not attentive, most of them. And there's one famous example where Krishna ji said that if a student is interested in watching a lizard, instead of paying attention to the subject like history or mathematics, Krishna ji said, let the student watch the lizard. That watching is more important. But sometimes a student may not be even watching the lizard, but maybe daydreaming. Something is going on in the mind of the student, and he's not attentive to what is happening in the classroom. And so that kind of inattention, it may create some kind of wastage of energy, and the student may get very bored and tired, and he may start yawning, and then he looked at the clock when the class will come to an end. So that kind of inattention even to the world which is outside, it creates problems. And inattention to even our body, if we are not attentive to what we are doing to our body, like being very lazy, getting up late, not doing any exercise, and eating too much food, and not very sattvic food. And sometimes people smoke and drink, so not attentive to our body also. And then we come deeper to this attention to the thinking process, which is very, very important. And that is what Krishna ji is mostly talking about, that this inattention, there's a lot is going on in our mind, but we are not aware of it. And it can lead to many problems. We react sometimes very quickly when somebody says something unpleasant. if we are not observing our own thoughts and feelings, we get angry, or there may be fear coming, and conflict in relationship. All this happens because we are not attentive to what is happening. So attention is like choiceless awareness, I would say. Watching thoughts may be going on, but not trying to change this thought process, not saying that it is good or bad, what Krishnaji calls choiceless awareness. So that awareness which can see thoughts as they are without any interference, that is something really a kind of a meditation. And that makes thinking move properly without creating problem. So it is like there's a light, and inattention, unawareness is like a darkness. And in the darkness, there are many thoughts, they multiply. And without doing anything, we can get tired and we can bored and waste of lot of energy. But awareness or attention is like a light. And when that light is turned on, thinking moves in a proper order. It doesn't create any conflict. It can see exactly this attention, can see thoughts as they are. And when there are no thoughts, then there is a pure awareness, which is also a wonderful thing. So um, uh, now we come to this other word, ego. Now, what is ego? Ego is the sense of I or me, and that also comes from thinking. Because if there are no thoughts, no thinking, there is no this sense of separate I or me. But out of thinking arises a strong fragment called the thinker. So thinker or ego or me comes out of the stream of thinking, and then this thinker, which feels that this ego feels that it can do something, change thought. So when it tries to change thought, there is a conflict between thinker and thought, and the conflict multiplies. So to realize that this ego is nothing but the thinker which comes from thought, that insight, as long as that doesn't happen, then we can go on reading Krishnamurti for many, many years, and we can keep on asking questions to Krishnamurti. It will not help. But only when we are alone, very curious to look inward, can see, and in that process of looking inward, maybe a different dimension may come in this process of observing. And when silence happens by itself, and then there's a feeling that this silence is full of attention, actually, that we can see even if a thought is arising, the beginning of a thought can be seen in this state of attention. But in attention, unawareness, thoughts keep on multiplying and create many problems. So to me, this is very obvious. Most of the things which Krishnaji is talking about, it seems very obvious to me. It is like saying that when there is a light, there is no darkness. Darkness goes away. A room may be dark for 100 years, but when you bring the light in, that darkness goes away. So, awareness or attention is like that light, and in that, all our problems created by thinking, they get dissolved without any effort. But then many people ask how to get this awareness. And the people also ask Krishnamurti, and he says there is no method. You can't do anything only when you are deeply curious to look at your inner world, not in order to be free without any motive. When there is this looking inward happens. And that happens to some people. It happened to me when I read Krishnamurti. I did not ask many questions, but I said, is it so? What Krishnamurti said, that this thinker or ego, it comes from thought. And then this ego tries to interfere with thought, and there is a conflict between thinker and thought. So that really made me look that it is really so. And in that looking inward, the mind really stopped. And then I felt that there is a different dimension within us, which is not thinking. It is pure looking, listening, and in that state of looking, listening, thoughts are no longer a problem. Thought can come and go just like clouds come and go. You don't need to do anything. And even one can create out of this awareness or attention. One can write, one can paint, one can do something very creative. So it doesn't create problem. But problem come when there is no awareness or attention. Then there are many illusions are created, and then many conflicts within oneself and with other human beings. It happen. So the only test of understanding is the quality of our daily life activities. And this happening, this awareness coming into existence, one can really feel that something new has happened. It is not a intellectual understanding, but one begins to see, look at the tree or a cloud or a human face or the color or shapes. Everything looks very strangely beautiful. And in that observation, there is no ego and there are no problems. It's just pure looking, and which is really beauty. And that is also what is love is. So all this thing is very much related. So we can't investigate each problem separately, like fear. You give one talk on fear, then another talk on desire, and then on pleasure. That is all dissecting. Everything is very much interrelated, and everything is related to this attention or awareness. And in that state of awareness, things move very beautifully without any conflict. So I would say, yes, in attention, consolidate the ego. That's true, it's obvious. So only in the state of attention, there is a freedom, there is a love, beauty, happiness, all this exists in the state where there is no self, no I. And so Krishna ji has said all this in many different ways. But we don't need to read all that. We can read the book of our own life and learn directly, and then we can say, yes, what Krishnamurti says is true. But when you try to understand Krishnamurti, you create a problem. Krishnamurti cannot be understood, but it can be seen without thinking. Okay, I have finished. Thank you.
Thank you, Harshad ji. Shakti, do you want to comment?
No, sir, I would like to listen
Okay.
first.
Dr. Kulkarni.
Thank you very much, sir. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for arranging Chidananji's lecture. So I started seeing the infinite changes are happening with what all of you have said just now, because I was very keenly observing. At the end of last lecture, he said, most of the times when we are listening, we are with the likes and dislikes and agree and disagree, which is nothing but ego and the unawareness. It changed a lot, a lot. Each one is saying and touching the self or the truth, but we are unaware of that because of our prejudice. Suddenly, the flash of light came to me. So immediately, I saw my likes and dislikes. Chidananji is a very famous person. Harshad ji is a very famous person. He has read a lot, so I will listen to him very attentively. But someone is very new, or he is telling something different, I am not listening or I am not liking. So we are contracting our attention. So this was my deep observation, and which changed a lot in day-to-day life. So seeing without likes and dislikes, which is the most difficult one, but after seeing them, these started decreasing one by one. Similarly, I see in Shaktiji's lecture, he's very open, never concluding, never ending about this investigation or what we are saying also, like river flowing into the ocean. Second thing, in the one of the other meetings with the Hyderabad meeting, there was same meeting on observation was going on. Suddenly, a flash of light came to me. Unknowingly, I said about this thing. See, we have the fear, desire, or the conflict, whatever you call. There are two types. One is observed fear. Just like बचपन में बोलते हैं ना भूत है, हमने भूत बनाया, devil, and we started seeing that, then it disappears once we understood. We observed that I myself has become the devil or whatever is there. So, or the desire, whatever we call the observed fear and unobserved fear. Similarly, observed self or the time. Time means not just now, but the beginning of the time, like previously Harshad ji has said. Small example given by Krishna ji, because I was very fortunate that I have read Krishna ji lot. So one of the example he says, which is quoted by many of you. So Krishna ji is here like a mirror. See and throw him away. He himself tells. One more places he says, I am uh, just like a kilometer stone, a signboard. I'm going to Delhi or whatever is there. The signboard, you see that and you just go away. We are not standing, we are not sticking. Saying Krishna ji and his teaching itself is going into the past, which is mentioned by the previous speakers. So this self-centered activity is very, very subtle, and it want to stick what others are saying. It becomes ego and the unawareness, whatever you call. So first I stopped just labeling. I am good, I am bad, I am Jnani, I am Ajnani, he is Jnani, whatever is there. So once this labeling I started seeing, it reduced a lot. Just by this stopping or seeing this labeling stop, then the next step, as Harshadji quotes again and again, the first step is the last step. First step is the most important step. Then just seeing, I am not distorting. Things started changing to me. So regarding the Shaktiji's question about the self-centeredness and unobserved awareness. So today I was reading one of the quote. It is not important after dying what it's going to happen, but it's very important to see what is dying inside you while you are living. It's a very deep one, touched me. So that means what Harshadji and Ishaktiji has said, we are completely inattentive all the times. When I am eating a lot. I will eat, I will think that I will eat 10%, but I will eat 40%, 50% uncontrollable while watching mobile, internet, or whatever is there. So this unawareness has taken over, if I see. While talking also in the mobile or in the phone or when we are chatting, 90 to 99%, we are always occupied with the past and which is not needed at all. I'm meeting any person, I'm always meeting with the past or the known or this image. Just I started seeing, just seeing, then I stopped reacting most of the times if someone scolds or insulting me or he's under rage or when he's under angry. Just I saw seeing only myself. You are saying about the self center, no? So it always sees about the others, what others are saying, what others have said, how to impress others. This is causing the self center. But when I started seeing myself, excluding others, but does not mean that I am taking them away. So because here with one caveat is there with Krishna ji, which he quotes again and again, and most important, which all other scriptures and gurus have not touched, is the relationship. So in relationship, when I started scolding others, when I started unnecessarily throwing burden and mistakes on others, see what is happening. So first step I understood from the last lecture and the today's was stop agreeing or disagreeing with anyone. We are all together. Again and again he says, Krishna ji, about this. It's an infinite journey. We are all going through in the same boat or the same journey. So then seeing everyone as Guru or Krishna ji or just emptiness or the with the he calls with humbleness or the vinayam, he says. So without the self center or the known or the image, just it flashes away, and there is no need to agree or disagree. Thinking together. One more, the excellent point said by Harshadji was, so I am using the thought. Thought is not using me. I am using the desire to live. I am using the fear. Fear is not using me. Let conflict come. I don't have, I am face to face with it. Please come. It reveals itself. It goes away by itself. These changes started happening. I don't want to name it. All of you, each one of you made me to learn and go deep, very deeply into the consciousness and to see what it is, not what it should be. So suddenly, what it should be, even if we are trying, it will not come because the focus is changed, which said by Harshadji previously. Because your focus is changed. It's not in names and forms. It's there is no superiority complex. He is very big person, I am small, or he is different, I am different. So this differences, that is division, sectarianism it's called. So suddenly it moves away. It can happen with just normal conversation, husband and wife, friends, family, mm, and society. But in deep awareness or seeing, which is completely false, and it stops by itself. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, doctor. D Murthy, sir.
Good evening, friends. I hope I am audible.
Yes, sir.
Uh, Today's topic is very deep. I start with something very fundamental. In the human consciousness, there are two faculties. One is the faculty of thinking, of which we are all aware, and we use thought for our day-to-day living. Other one is the faculty of awareness, is also there in our consciousness, but we are not fully understood what awareness is and what its implications are till a great man like Krishnaji came into this world and pointed it out to us. The faculty of awareness is nothing but a state of observation without condemnation. That means just observing things as they are. And in fact, in a newborn human baby, the faculty of awareness, the faculty of observation manifests when the baby is 3 or 4 months old, whereas the faculty of thinking manifests only when the child is about 8 or 9 months old, and when the child starts talking, the child starts walking. We human beings give so much importance to the thought process that we always observe these things. In fact, we celebrate when the child is talking, the first step he has taken or the first word he has said. We share with friends and relatives. We take photographs, put it on the mantle. All these things we do, but normally we don't observe. We don't notice when the child is observing. When the child is when the baby is about 3 or 4 months old, slowly the child starts observing, that is just seeing and listening, particularly the voice of the mother, the face of the mother, the face of the father, things like that. And it will not condemn or anything because it has no uh, knowledge embedded in that little brain. So the faculty of awareness is very much there, but we have not given proper importance to that faculty, and that's why there is a lot of trouble. And we were taken away by the tremendous progress made by thought in the technological world, in the physical world, and so the awareness has gone on to the back seat. But now things are changing tremendously. And as Krishnaji pointed out, the faculty of awareness is very important to understand psychological matters. What is happening in the system, and what is why we suffer, why we have fear, why we have suffering, why we have fear. All these things are there. And so this faculty of awareness has become prominent. In fact, there is a nice dialogue between Professor Krishna and David Moody of Ojai Valley in 2016, I think. These issues were very nicely discussed there, and a lot of clarity has come. Professor Krishna was very clear in telling that the faculty of awareness is such an important thing till such time that Krishnaji brought it to notice of various people. And also, actually, there is a mystery around awareness. Where from it comes and how it comes, nobody knows. In fact, the doctors, brain doctors, they have done some experiments on people who are brain dead, and they found that when the brain is dead, there is no awareness. So they conclude that awareness is coming from the human brain. But the religious people don't accept that, and they say it is a different faculty and it manifests through the brain. When the brain is there, it is manifesting and it is visible for ordinary human beings to understand. So Krishnaji took it a little more forward and made it choiceless awareness. When the choice means the self is operating. In a state where self is not there, that is choiceless awareness. That means observation without the observer. We have discussed it a number of times, and it is also very important to understand. In fact, the observer is made by the thinking only. A thought has created the thinker, and that thinker is an illusion. There is no real thinker at all. It is a virtual image. In science, we learn about real image and virtual image. And the observer, the self, the ego is nothing but a virtual image. In reality, it is not there at all. It's like a mirage in the desert. It appears to be there, but it is not there. So that is the thing, but we are not able to get rid of this virtual image that we have because it has taken roots in our psyche and it is driving the human endeavor in all aspects. And coming to today's problem, inattention and observation and these things of which Shakti ji was talking about, you have to understand that the faculty of awareness and faculty of attention, they always happen only in the present moment. Whereas the faculty of thinking and the thought process happens in the present moment, but the content of thought is either past or the future. So when thought is operating, you are always in the past or in the future, never in the present. That's the whole problem. Now, the attention that we have been talking about uh, is possible only in the present moment. The observation, awareness, attention happen only in the present moment. Whereas the thought process either takes you to the past or takes you to the future. And the past is nothing but your regrets. I have not done this. I should have done that. I should have not uh, activated this process, things like that. And the future is always about hope. So when you are thinking, either you are in the past or in the future and never in the present. Whereas life is unfolding in the present moment. Awareness is unfolding in the present moment. Attention is unfolding in the present moment. And the attention is nothing but summation of energy. In awareness, in choiceless awareness, there is no action because it has no content in it. Whereas in attention, because it is summation of energy, there is action that is taking place. The action being, if you are attentive to your psychological disorders like fear, anger, etc., and attend to them in a state of choiceless awareness, there is a possibility of understanding them and eliminating them. That we are not doing. So what Shakti ji is telling is very true. Definitely, if you are thinking, you are actually away from observation, away from attention, away from awareness. So naturally, it is a state of inattention. Inattention means the self is operating, thought is operating. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Prasad sir.
Sir, namaste to everybody. Topic is, does inattention consolidate the ego? I think the answer is quite simple and straightforward. It does consolidate the ego. Because all of us, we we can't get rid of our conditioning. We all have some conditioning. We are born into a particular family, into a particular religion, into a particular nation and all that. So, obviously, all of us have. We are born into some conditioning. We are born with some conditioning. And we are not even aware of that conditioning. A Christian doesn't think he is conditioned. Similarly, a Hindu doesn't think he is conditioned. It is only when somebody like Krishnamurti points out, then we realize, yes, we are conditioned. And that comes with attention only. You call it attention or awareness. I am not really clear about the distinction between awareness and attention. But that process of awareness or attention, that gives you an inkling of your own conditioning. Otherwise, we think we are all very happy and sound and we are quite content with our own conditioning. Then, when we become aware of it, of your conditioning, then only we realize that yes, Krishnaji somewhere says, even about Christ, is a story. We are not really clear that a man by the name Christ has existed. Nobody has seen him rising from the dead. So, but a Christian doesn't accept that. He is born into that. Similarly, Hindus have so many mythological stories. We are born with all those stories that a child, Krishna, went to some other place and the river gave way. And all these stories, so many stories, that he danced on the head of a snake. All these stories are our conditioning. So, these conditionings become evident only through attention. When you pay attention to these stories, then you realize, yes, my God, I am stuck with this type of conditioning. And that creates a conflict because you stick to your narrowness and the other guy has his own narrowness and all that. So, unless it is only through attention that we become aware of our own conditionings. And similarly, we live in the past. We don't realize it that we live in the past. I think Mr. Murthy has said we are living in the past because thinking itself is product of the past. It is only because of memory that thinking arises from memory, and memory is only past. All these things become evident only through attention. Otherwise, you don't realize that you are living in the past. We live in a narrow circle of your own family, of your own religion, all this narrowness of the mind becomes evident only through attention. We have no sense of the unity of life. Normally, we think we are individuals, separate from everybody, everything else. This sense of unity, you become aware of it through attention only. Without that, your life is so narrow. It is only through attention that your ego diminishes, at least, if not totally destroyed. What is ego? Ego is only your thinking. Your thinking, it is through thinking there is the thinker. Thinker is the ego. Without thinking, there is no thinker. So it is only through attention that you become aware of your ego. When you get irritated with your domestic help, let us say, you don't get irritated with your boss. You get irritated only with somebody who is a step below you. All these things, they are all your egos, manifestations of your ego. And that becomes evident only through attention. So, sir, for me, it is very evident that without attention, your ego is quite a dominant. It diminishes only through attention. So, it is only inattention that consolidates the ego. The answer is very straightforward. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Prasad sir. Lakshmi ji, do you want to say something? Shakti ji,
Yes, sir. Yeah, one thing is that when Krishnaji says, watch your thoughts to the students, watch thoughts. Watch your thoughts when you are sitting here, when you are walking, watch your thoughts. When you go to bed, watch your thoughts. You know, one cannot watch anything in the state of inattention, unawareness. In this watching, when I'm watching my thought, sometimes it seems like the moment you start watching them, they disappear. And I'm not talking about the
बहुत चमत्कारी मंदिर लगा
silence space, another dimension. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking, it is as if the thought is shy of this watchfulness. And then what happens that I think that it is not possible to watch thoughts. But it is possible to keep watching that space in which thoughts are occurring. That is very much possible. And as Harshad says, when there is awareness, the quality of necessary thinking is different. There is necessary thinking in life. It can be related to so many things, which is directed thinking, not the daydreaming or the default network. That because I have found it, when there is unawareness, inattention, I found that my thoughts are narrow, selfish. And in the light of awareness, they are not, they're different, the same thoughts. So it is very interesting. At the same time, if I'm reading Krishnamurti, he says conscious meditation is not meditation. And this is, for me, is very difficult to understand, because when I'm experimenting, when I'm testing out things, I'm doing it deliberately. So from that statement, I understand that, well, what I'm doing is not meditation. I'm just exploring what is unawareness, what is awareness. So that much I wanted to add. I would like to listen. Chaitanya ji.
Chaitanya Nagar, sir. Please unmute. Please unmute, sir.
Unmuted, yes.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me now? Because I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, we are
On
hearing you.
this,
We are
on this,
listening you, no problem.
on this platform, I always find it difficult to unmute myself, and I have to press the button several times. Doesn't. Oh, it's okay. So I don't know. I was thinking about several things, but now that my turn has come, I don't exactly recall what I was trying to ask. Yes, I do miss something in this dialogue forum. I think we are not asking questions. We are not having some kind of communion with the speaker. Like a theme is given and the main speaker speaks on the theme. Like when Shakti ji spoke, he was slow, he was hesitant, he was inquiring, he was exploring. But I'm sorry, I'm not saying this about anyone in particular, but I have feeling that uh, as soon as the main speaker stops, there's no pause, and uh, almost, I mean, anybody who speaks at length about the same theme, and without you see, in a dialogue, a curious learner has to have a lot of space because the freshness of his question, even if one knows about those things that the main speaker in this dialogue, Shakti ji, has said things that I already know. But I have a feeling that when I listen afresh, intently, then some new questions always come to the mind. And I somehow miss that that fragrance, that freshness on this platform. I thought a lot about it before I decided to say this. I'm not I hope nobody's offended, but I have a feeling that it's like a platform of speakers where everybody speaks, agrees with the speaker, praises him, talks about the same thing. But that, you see, we don't ask questions to the speak to ourselves, to other participants. Almost half of them uh, never even speak. Why don't they speak? Why is it? Is it because some people take more space and then they are not able to speak? Why don't we encourage them to share their understanding also? That's my objection because I have been associated with this for a long time and I love this group. I think it's a serious group because if one meets every week, once or twice, must be serious people. So that's a small observation that I want. I may be wrong. But I think I would request all of us to ponder over this a little bit. Are we actually having a dialogue in the sense in which the person around whom all these dialogues are held use the word dialogue? I also feel, Shakti, that, and I'm addressing all the other participants too, I think that inattention could be a device that ego has invented, that ego is using for its own survival, for its own perpetuation, for its own existence. Because otherwise, you see, if inattention consolidates it, reinforces it, makes it stronger, it could be its creation. It has created that inattention so that it could hide behind it. Because ego hardly ever comes before us stark naked. It is always in the garb of something or the other, something great, something small, because it always has a habit of justifying its existence. Why does it justify? Justification is like a garb behind which it hides itself. I was just wondering if why inattention is so deep-seated. Why is it? You have also mentioned several times in the past, Shakti ji, that if attention is so important, then why are we so enamored of inattention? If attention is such a beautiful thing and has been talked about so frequently and by so many people, why are we so enamored of inattention that we don't let go of it? We can't, perhaps, because it is perhaps as deep-seated as ego itself. Could be. I don't know. It just came to my mind that it could be a device. And therefore, as long as the ego self is there, I mean, its roots are as deep as that of the self. That's one question that came to mind. And if any of the participants or you yourself, Shakti, you could address this, because it is very difficult to establish a cause and effect relationship between inattention and ego. I don't know, I don't understand very clearly what gives rise to what is it that gives rise to the other? Is it the ego or inattention that is giving rise to ego or ego? It seems that it's like they are codependent. They are dependent on each other for their. And then I ask another question that I think it's mostly ego. Just as ego uses anger, justifies it to hide itself, it uses jealousy, it uses love even to justify its existence and hide behind it. Perhaps in a similar fashion, it has invented a device for inattention because attention threatens its survival. It's like a fire. Perhaps it's like a fire in which ego feels like it's getting burned. It feels that it's going to get destroyed. So therefore, perhaps it likes it wants it would rather uh, encourage that state of inattention. It will fuel that state of inattention because the more inattentive one is, uh, the more the space that the ego gets to operate, to function. So it's a much deeper question, I think, that inattention is like a defense mechanism for ego, and therefore it doesn't want to let go. Therefore, attention seems such an enormous task. As you said, if I pay attention to one thought, it begins to wither away. But then another thought arises. So you see, attention to one thought to the exclusion of every other thought is also some kind of a game. Because why I am not able to pay attention to thought itself, to thought per se, but to the thought that is manifesting itself at the present moment. And I pay attention to that, to the exclusion of every other thought, which are also present in some dormant form in the consciousness at the same moment. But I'm not aware of them. So I'm aware of what is manifesting itself, but am I also aware of what has not manifested itself at this moment? Because sooner or later, the dormant, the hidden, will also rear its head, and then I start paying. So my attention is like some kind of exclusive, selective attention, paying attention to one thing and forgetting. Right now, I have this feeling of anger, so I want to pay attention to it. I think I have dealt with it, and then another problem comes up, and then I pay attention to it. So I was wondering if it was possible for one to get to the root of some, like all this, and pay attention to the maker of, to the creator of all this, and see whether it has any impact on the source that creates all this. And it seems to me logically it would be possible if we could only identify somehow, have a kind of glimpse of it, vague glimpse even. Yeah, I think I have also taken a lot of time, but I felt that I had to share this. Thank you so much, Shakti ji, and other participants also. Thank you.
Thank you, Chaitanya ji.
Shakti
I
ji,
would like to say something. Is one thing that I was not talking about giving attention to a thought exclusively, which is concentration. We all have read Krishnamurti, and we know the problem of concentration because it creates controller, it creates the censor, and it creates that entity which is excluding. I was just telling that, you listen to Krishnamurti and then you try to, whether it is possible or not. For example, he says, watch your thoughts. So watching thought is watching what is. One is not excluding anything. And this has, in this testing out, in this experience, in this experiment, this has been my experience, which can be, something vague, something which is not happening with others. But with me, it happens that the moment I start watching thought, if I call it thought, it seems that no thought is coming. But there is a lot of, as you say, the dormant ones, they are there. It is not a state of silence. And what I think that this is what I felt, that still there is something there. Still there is that space in which thoughts are occurring that also can be watched. Another thing which I found problematic is, although in the theme I use the word the ego, the moment I use the word the ego is creating fear or self is creating fear, I use some label. Instead of that, I found it more helpful if I say I am creating fear. I am creating pleasure. And this I is very evident that it is one thought. So watching thought is like watching I is the same thing. So this is just for the experiment, for the, because if I listen to something and I say, well, wonderful, and then stop there, and as you say that I really find it that it seems that I am so attached to unawareness, I am so attached to, this inattention that I listen many times to Krishnamurti, I can talk about it, and then, but I see in my real life the default network is the inattention, is the unawareness. So I try to find the causes for that. And I also try to find out whether this act of watching what is, watching thought, watching feeling, is it possible or it is just a feat which only a few can do? So this is just, I was, sharing my, the way of everybody can have different type of, as you say, different things can happen. Like with Harshadji, it happened that he started watching the beginning of thought and he entered into another dimension, another state. With me, it didn't happen. With me, it happened that it seems there is no thought suddenly, as if, as if the act of watching made it disappear. So that was my, and then that other thought comes, many thoughts come. So it has been a different, and with you, it can be different with everyone. For this, we are learning in this, this group meeting here. Thank you, sir.
Harshad sir, would you please like to comment on this?
Yeah.
Last 3-4 minutes.
We are talking about something which is really non-verbal, but we are using so many words, and that is why it becomes very, very difficult, because we are used to thinking, using words, trying to understand through thinking, and that's the real difficulty, because in this field, what somebody is saying, whether it is true or false, it cannot be decided by thinking. One has to go beyond and really listen, whether it's a Krishnamurti or somebody else. What is the state of listening? Whether is it real listening without interpreting? So as long as such a thing has not happened in our life, there will be millions of questions. I don't ask questions. If question comes to my mind, I don't think anybody else can answer my question. I have to watch from what background the question comes and not do anything but just watching. This watching is more important than learning and gathering, all that. So this is something beautiful thing. And once we are able to do it, we don't need to read Krishnamurti or anybody else, but we can see the thing happening within us, how everything is unfolding. The book of our own life is unfolding and we can see it. And that seeing is not verbal. And that's why it is difficult. So words are good if those words can lead to non-verbal state. Like Krishnamurti is using words, but what do we do with those words? Are they those words opening up a new way of looking within us? Or we are just thinking about what Krishnamurti is saying and asking more questions? So I think that is the difficulty I found with people who are very intellectual, like even David Bohm asking many, many questions to Krishnamurti. But I am not like that. I don't ask questions. I want to watch, observe. And how we do that, that is the real thing. Are we doing it with more thinking or another dimension? And so as long as that another dimension has not come in our life, we will have many doubts, many questions, but nobody can answer those questions. One has to see it for oneself, I think. And then we can listen to Krishnamurti or anybody else without any distraction. Okay, I finished. Thank you.
Thank you, Harshad. Modak, please end it.